It's Monday, May 11th, and this is now on HNN.
The public needs to understand what the standards are.
As state lawmakers head back to the Capitol, retail stores and shopping malls reopen across Maui County.
Positive coronavirus cases are impacting the workflow here at the White House. I'm Skyler Henry with a look at the changes and the new testing guidelines for the most vulnerable.
So this has all been approved. We've gotten it done, completed. The money is going out.
Despite death toll predictions getting worse, some states are easing restrictions. I'm Elise Preston with the latest on the fight to contain COVID-19.
Financially, it's been tough.
Shanghai Disneyland reopens. It's a huge test for tourism in China.
They're able to maintain a very comfortable social distance for all of our guests inside the park.
These stories plus an update on Major League Baseball's delayed season coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director producer, alongside Ashley here. We want to get started with some new numbers from the Department of Health.
Health officials are reporting just 2 new COVID-19 cases today, both on Oahu, bringing the statewide total to 634 cases. Hawaii's death toll stands at 17, and so far, close to 90% of patients have been released from isolation.
Retail stores and shopping malls on the Valley Island are open this morning, some of them at least. Those who are wanting to open up, but they must follow strict guidelines. Casey Lund is there. He filed this report this morning.
We're here at the Kahahumanu Shopping Center, and we wanted to show you just kind of the disparity between the different shops that can and can't open. Obviously, food places, dining restaurants, still not open for dine-in, but we wanted to show you one store that learned about the fact that they could open this week, just last week like everyone else did, and so now they're kind of scrambling and not quite ready to open today. You can see them in there working. They weren't able to speak with us on camera, but if you look, they're installing plexiglass in front of the register. They're making sure that they have hand sanitizer, and that's really what all of those retailers that are allowed to open today have to do. We talked to one owner who said it was really difficult to get hand sanitizers, but eventually she was able to get some. Some businesses, again, installing plexiglass, putting those stickers for social distancing on their floor, and a lot of them that we've kind of talked to over the weekend and just this morning say they were kind of a little caught off guard. They're very grateful to be opening back up, but they do have a lot of work to do to get ready. They are stressing that appointment only and delivery or pickup services are being encouraged for those businesses that do plan on opening their doors today. There are businesses and spaces that are still definitely not allowed to reopen, including any food court, dining areas, except for delivery or takeout, entertainment and play areas like arcades and theaters, as well as beauty, hair, and nail salons are still not allowed to open. But I got to tell you, Steve, it is a very quiet morning here. It normally would be at this time, but we would expect to see a lot of these shops beginning to open. We're going to be here throughout the day trying to talk to store owners. We also want to talk to customers about whether they think it's safe and appropriate to open today.
The White House issued a new memo that requires staffers to wear face masks after multiple administration aides tested positive last week. The president just spoke a short time ago. Skyler Henry has more from Washington.
This major investment will ensure that America continues to conduct more tests than any country on earth by far.
Sources on the conference call between Vice President Mike Pence and state governors say the Trump administration is pushing for more than 1 million nursing home residents and staff to be tested in the coming weeks.
We need to ramp up testing. That's something that the president has heavily emphasized.
It comes as the FDA has issued emergency use authorization for a new antigen test that provides results in just minutes. But the FDA warns it has a higher chance of false negatives.
It's not dramatically higher, it's slightly higher. But the trade-off is you could do lots of these inexpensively.
The vice president convened the conference call from the White House after his press secretary and one of the president's military valets tested positive for COVID-19 last week. So 3 members of the task force, Dr. Anthony Fauci of the NIH, CDC Director Robert Redfield, and FDA Commissioner Dr. Stephen Hahn are under self-quarantine.
It is scary to go to work. It's a small, crowded place. It's a little bit risky, but you have to do it because you have to serve your country.
All 3 self-isolating task force members are expected to testify Tuesday before a Senate panel remotely. The Republican chair of that committee, Senator Lamar Alexander, is also self-isolating after a member of his staff tested positive for the coronavirus. The Senate gavelled back into session Monday. The House is not expected to return to Washington until possibly Friday at the earliest. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The state legislative session resumed this morning, the first time since March 17th. That's when State Senator Clarence Nishihara tested positive for COVID-19. Today, lawmakers are working on a bill that would transfer some of the state's $862 million that came from the existing Federal CARES Act to neighbor islands and emergency services. The current proposal sends most of the money, about $550 million, to the Rainy Day Fund. House Speaker Scott Saiki says the funds will be used for unemployment benefits.
The unemployment fund is expected to be depleted maybe in about a month or so. When that happens, the state will have to replenish the fund.
And check it out, lawmakers are seated in a way to ensure physical distancing. The public is not allowed inside the Capitol, but you can watch on Olelo. You can also submit written testimony on the state Capitol website.
Now, with most states easing restrictions, a widely used model now shows that projected coronavirus deaths in the nation have gone up. Researchers at the University of Washington now say more than 137,000 people nationwide could die by August. Elise Preston reports from New York.
Arizona is reopening dine-in restaurants today, including this burger place in Phoenix.
Financially, it's been tough. We've lost hundreds and hundreds of gigs.
Restaurants are taking safety precautions, but even still, death toll projections for Arizona have tripled. Updated predictions from the University of Washington show COVID-19 deaths are increasing more than researchers expected in several states, including California, Arizona, and Florida.
We're seeing just explosive increases in mobility in a number of states that we expect will translate into more cases and deaths, in 10 days from now.
In Florida, where the projected death toll has increased by nearly 1,500, city leaders in Naples say the beach was so overrun at the start of the weekend, they reclosed it Sunday morning.
No social distancing at all, no masks.
In Colorado, a restaurant that reopened in defiance of a statewide public health order drew massive crowds over the weekend. And in Wisconsin, protesters rallied to reopen churches.
Here in New York, the governor announced new rules for nursing homes, including requiring staff members to be tested twice a week. And hospitals cannot discharge patients to nursing homes unless they test negative for the virus.
Statewide, more than 5,000 nursing home residents have died from the virus. And a California doctor received a round of applause as he returned to work in Sacramento after treating patients for COVID-19 in New York City the last 2 weeks. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Honolulu police say they arrested a man who attacked a bus driver near Ala Moana on Saturday. According to HPD, 63-year-old Mark Lyons boarded the bus and refused to keep his mask on. When the driver asked him to get off, he allegedly used his crutch to hit the driver in the face. HPD said he then damaged the door. Lyons was released pending investigation.
Here at home, we've now seen one full week of visitor arrivals topping 200. For the past 7 days, more than 200 visitors have arrived on the islands as restrictions ease both here and on the mainland. Prior to May 1st, we had not seen more than 200 visitors since late March. Last year, there were 30,000 people arriving per day, according to state averages. South Korea is now facing a second wave of this pandemic after seeing the biggest daily rise in cases since April. Kelly Kopiea reports.
This morning, 4,000 clubs and bars in Seoul are closed. At testing sites, long lines, as health workers try to track at least 5,500 people who went clubbing more than a week ago and might be infected. They say a 29-year-old man went to at least 3 nightclubs the night of May 1st, wasn't wearing a mask, and tested positive for COVID-19 last Wednesday. The city's mayor ordering all nightclubs and bars to close indefinitely, saying carelessness can cause the virus to explode. Daily cases are now spiking, 35 this morning, the biggest rise since early April.
Dancing clubs will be very ideal environments for the transmission of the coronavirus because First of all, people will not be wearing masks, and people will be dancing and shouting, and there will be a lot of sweat and a lot of bodily fluid.
South Korea has become a model for the world on how to track, trace, and isolate, making sure foreigners like me don't carry the virus into the country. After a week quarantined in a tiny dorm room, today, a big move.
We have 1 week left, and we are now staying in an actual hotel. I think we're supposed to take our own temperature now because we've been given this kit and a thermometer, but it's all in Korean.
This country was just days into a new phase. The first soccer game in months. Theme parks filling up. Classrooms prepped for kids to return. Now the government is rethinking its strategy.
Today, the Ministry of Education announced they're going to push back the start of the school year until at least next week. Parents just weren't comfortable sending their kids back to school, knowing that health officials are still tracking and tracing with this new cluster. Kelly Kobieye, NBC News, Cheonan, South Korea.
To Europe now, the British government is changing its recommendation on face masks, now telling people to cover their mouths and noses in stores and on public transportation. The change is part of a plan to gradually lift a nationwide lockdown imposed 7 weeks ago to slow the spread of the virus. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has extended most of the restrictions, but says people will be allowed to do more outdoor activities starting Wednesday. He said people who can't work from home should be actively encouraged to go to work. Now, critics said the advice was confusing, hard to follow, and potentially dangerous. Britain's official coronavirus death toll is just over 32,000, the highest in Europe.
And for our podcast listeners, the video we're looking at right now came to us over our CBS feeds. It is from London, and it is showing how traffic has sort of picked up over the last few days. And you can even see in here those famous red double-decker buses are back on the road. So some things are getting back to, I wouldn't call it normalcy, but a slow progress to opening back up there as well. We want to go to somewhere else that's opening back up now. Back to Asia, to China. Shanghai Disneyland opened up today for the first time. They had some limited crowds, and there was a lot of precautions. Janice Mackey-Frere reports from China.
Theme parks are always popular, but Shanghai Disney is getting attention because it's the first in the world to reopen after closing down at the height of the virus outbreak here in China.
And now, it's time for magic.
It doesn't mean it was a free-for-all. Tickets are advance booking only. They're very limited because China's government has capped capacity at 30%. That's roughly 24,000 visitors per day. And Disney says they're actually allowing far fewer than that, at least for the time being.
One of the most critical pieces of being able to open here is to be able to maintain a very comfortable social distance for all of our guests inside the park.
Masks are mandatory. There's no selfies with the characters or hugging them. And just to get through the gates, people need to have their temperatures checked and also to show a green health code proving that they're virus-free. Now, like every country, China has taken a huge financial hit during the pandemic. So the slow and phased reopening of a theme park that's a known brand is seen as a sign that perhaps economies can begin to get back on track. The key, says Disney, is crowd control. But they have lights and they have attractions, and the kids today were thrilled. So there are very high expectations that this could be a sign of better days ahead for parks in the U.S. as well.
All right, back in the U.S., the Associated Press is reporting Major League Baseball owners have given the go-ahead to making a proposal to the Players Union that could lead to the coronavirus-delayed season starting around the 4th of July weekend in ballparks without fans. Now, spring training would start in early to mid-June, and each team would play about 82 regular season games, most against opponents in its own divisions. Now, postseason play would be expanded from 10 clubs to 14 by doubling wild cards in each league to 4.
Interesting. We'll have to see how that all plays out once the player union gets a hold of that agreement. All right, we're going to talk about something here at home. There's a new movement here to help feed those in need. It's called Buy One, Feed One. Our own Guy Hoggy talked to actress Kelly Hu at her home in Los Angeles, and that's going to be the topic of our Checking In segment today.
She joins us now from her home in LA. Good morning, Kelly. Aloha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
good morning.
I'm good. Things are going good here. How are things over there? What's life like over there in LA for you right now?
Well, you know, I guess it's been like, for me, it's normal, right? Because when you're an out of work actor, you spend a lot of time at home anyway. But you know, I think people have been taking the quarantine quite seriously here. For the very, very few times that I actually left the house, I really don't see very many people on the streets at all. You know, LA is usually like the worst traffic, right? In the United States. But yeah, traffic has been completely clear. Like roads are completely clear. A lot of people just walking and you know, really, really respecting that stay-at-home order.
All right. Now, you're helping out with this program. Fill us in on how we can help as well and what it's all about.
So, Buy One, Feed One, both for Hawaii, is a program that it encourages people to buy food, meals from local businesses. And when they buy one for themselves, they you know, they're encouraged to buy another meal for someone else who is, you know, either housebound or maybe a healthcare worker or, you know, a teacher or just anybody that you want to show your appreciation for. So so it's a great way to help with the local economy. It's a great way to just show aloha, you know, to people that you want to show your appreciation for.
So is it any restaurant or are there a list of restaurants that are participating?
Well, there are a list of restaurants who are participating, but you can do it really from any restaurant.
Oh, okay.
People can go to buyoneFeedOne.com, and there are a list of restaurants to choose from.
Okay.
Or they can just, you know, if they want to choose a place that's in their area, that's close by, or whatever, you know, they're welcome to do that too. It's really about just, you know, sharing and helping out the local economy and you know, just showing people that you care. Wow. And helping people, especially who are like, you know, the kupuna and whatnot, who maybe cannot leave their house or are having a little bit of a difficult time right now. You know, a lot of people out of work, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you've been in touch with what's going on here with regard to that stuff, but the calls for free food, the food giveaways have been just overwhelmingly under siege right now. I mean, people are standing in line like numbers before.
4 or 5 hour. Yeah, 4 or 5 hour waits and stuff for food. It just goes to show you how desperate the times are. I mean, there's already like such a big homeless problem in Hawaii as it is, right? And so like now I'm sure that, you know, it's the demand is just overwhelming for anybody.
All right, well, Kelly Hu, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in Hawaii again. And you would miss the streets right now because like LA, it's uncrowded. Imagine walking through Waikiki now with hardly anybody.
No more tourists.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, we need them, but it's really unbelievably cool to walk through these places that have no people anymore.
Wow. I can only imagine, right? Yeah. I mean, I do miss home. I miss home since my mom left. You know, I haven't been back in a little while. Hopefully, I'll be back there soon.
All right. Well, thanks, Kelly, and come back home soon. We got the best weather on the planet for you.
Of course.
All right. Mahalo.
All right, folks, time for some good medicine. Let's get to some positive news of the day.
We hope all you mothers out there had a great Mother's Day yesterday, and some very special visits took place yesterday. Now, relatives of residents at a senior housing facility in Palolo were given the opportunity to see their families for the first time in 2 months. Let's take a look.
They haven't seen their loved ones. They haven't seen their children, their grandchildren, and so we're glad to have put the work in to make this happen for them. COVID-19 is not going to overcome the power of our ohana.
Then this morning I said, no, nobody's coming. And she came back, she said, yes, your son and daughter. She gave me both names. I said, they are coming. Oh, I was elated. I was ready to run.
So precious.
Cute.
Yes, drive-by visits or drive-in visits were happening at the Palolo Chinese home, and there have been restrictions on visits due to the pandemic. So about 35 mothers at the home were treated to a family visit yesterday, and administrators say they are looking at more ways to further connect loved ones as the crisis continues.
All right, another way people are connecting is through video calls, Zoom, you know, FaceTime, all those things. But Nancy Chin shows us how some of those virtual calls and visits are taking a walk on the wild side.
The cows, llamas, and goats at this Northern California farm are figuring out their best angles.
He's super friendly.
Nate Salpeter is a co-founder of Sweet Farm, a nonprofit sanctuary now offering animal cameos on Zoom. He says demand is so high, they've booked more than 600 appointments. Sessions start at $65 for a happy hour appearance, with extended tours for $250.
What's been some of the more unique events that you've been part of?
Let's see. We had our first wedding that we called into the other day. We called in with Paco the llama.
These video calls are going to the dogs. Ricochet is a surfing therapy dog in San Diego. Her handler, Judy Fredono, was inspired by their work with veterans, so she's now offering free virtual visits to healthcare workers under stress.
If you hold back your anger, that just ends up festering. So if you can tell Ricochet what you're angry about, it doesn't affect anybody.
Diana Muchagamba spent an hour talking with Ricochet. The San Antonio nurse has been working with critically ill coronavirus patients.
I feel good having let it out, having had someone to listen without judgment. That was hugely important.
While the visits are virtual, the much-needed relief is not.
It's a way to, break from the norm, the new norm, I should say, and get outside even through a video screen. It's a very uplifting opportunity for folks.
Making staying in until the cows come home a bit easier. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Love that. That was so cute.
I get it. I get how that can be therapeutic. I mean, I love watching, when zoos have like the panda cam or something like that. I love watching that.
We have the new baby lemurs at the zoo here.
That's true.
So we could set up a little, maybe that'll be our next checking in. Maybe. We'll get him on.
Sure.
We'll get him on the Zoom. Hey guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now today. Happy Monday to you. Stay safe out there. We have a press conference coming up at 2:30 with Governor Ige to get an update from him. We're going to bring that to you on our